The air inside the bar was thick, a cocktail of stale smoke and broken neon. Glasses slammed, boots scraped, the kind of noise that kept outsiders from staying too long. It looked like just another dive on the edge of town. But tonight, someone inside wasn't who they seemed. Before we go deeper, make sure you're strapped in, subscribe now, like and share. We'd love to know where you're watching from in the comments section. The door creaked. A woman walked in. Maya. She moved like she belonged, steady and controlled, the kind of walk that didn't invite questions. Faded jeans, loose jacket, hair tucked under a cap, ordinary, almost forgettable. And yet, her eyes caught everything. She slid onto a bar stool, nodded to the bartender. Whiskey. Neat. Simple. Direct. The glass landed in front of her with a dull clink. Around her, bikers filled the room. Leather vests patched with skulls and fire, voices loud enough to rattle the walls. They didn't notice her at first. They were too busy laughing, shoving, slamming fists on the table like every story had to be punctuated with violence. But Maya wasn't listening for laughs. She was listening for names, deals, secrets. Hidden beneath her jacket, a small mic pressed to her chest hummed softly. Someone on the other end, her handler, her team, was recording every word. She took a sip, careful not to break the rhythm of the room. To them, she was a quiet stranger in a bar. To herself, she was standing in the lion's den. And what she didn't know was that the lions already smelled blood. The gang's leader, Duke, had connections. Police officers who weren't just paid off, but loyal. Loyal enough to tip him off. Loyal enough to whisper that someone was coming, which meant Maya's mission was already compromised the moment she stepped through that door. At the pool table, a biker stopped mid-shot, phone glowing in his hand, a text sent fast. His buddy leaned in, grinned too wide, then glanced her way. Maya's instincts screamed. Something shifted. The laughter didn't stop, but it changed. Louder, sharper, as if the whole room had silently agreed on a private joke. Her glass hovered halfway to her lips. Her heart picked up. Not from fear, from calculation. Who saw her first? Who knew? How long did she have? Then, silence. The jukebox choked out mid-song, cutting the air in half. The biker's laughter dropped. Boots shuffled. Chairs scraped back slow. Maya kept her body loose, eyes on the whiskey. But her reflection in the glass betrayed it. 3 men at her back, closing in. The bartender leaned in, his voice almost too soft to catch. "You're not from around here, are you?" Her knuckles tightened around the glass. She set it down, slow. The mic beneath her jacket hummed. Whoever was listening on the other end just heard it too. She turned, finally meeting the gaze of the man at her shoulder. Tattoos ran up his neck, eyes cold as stone. He grinned. "You picked the wrong bar, sweetheart." And that's when Maya knew the hunt was over. She'd been made. The door swung open with a creak that cut through the laughter. 2 men stepped inside, heavy boots sinking into the stained floorboards. Their presence was like a knife, sharp, immediate. They weren't bikers. No leather jackets, no patches, just plain clothes that didn't quite fit the room, except for the flash of metal clipped to their belts. Badges, cops. Only, something about them didn't feel like protection. The bar seemed to know it too. Conversations dropped to whispers. A few bikers straightened in their seats, eyes flicking between the men and Maya at the bar. The taller cop scanned the room with a smirk, then locked on her. The other followed, slow and deliberate, like predators that had already chosen their prey. They moved with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing nobody in here would dare push back. The kind of confidence that didn't come from the law, but from the people they served in the shadows. Maya didn't turn. She took a slow sip of her drink, pulse steady, though every muscle inside her braced. Bootsteps stopped behind her stool. One of them leaned close enough for her to smell his aftershave over the smoke. "You're not from around here, are you?" The voice was smooth, casual, but it carried weight, a test, not a question. The bar's silence deepened. Biker eyes gleamed, watching, waiting. Maya set her glass down, slow. "Just passing through." The second cop chuckled under his breath. "Yeah, passing through and asking questions. Funny thing, that." Her fingers brushed the edge of the bar, steady as stone. She could feel the mic under her jacket, the faintest reminder she wasn't completely alone. But here and now, she was. The first cop dropped into the stool beside her, too close. His badge glinted under the neon. He turned, giving her a smile that didn't touch his eyes. See, folks like us, we notice when someone doesn't belong. And our friends upstairs? His smile sharpened. They don't like snoops. The word cut, sharper than a blade. Snoops. It wasn't just about her cover. It was a warning. Her mind raced, but her face stayed blank. If they'd been tipped off, the leak was higher than she thought. And if they were here, they weren't looking to chat. The taller cop tapped 2 fingers on the bar, signaling the bartender for another drink. His eyes never left her. Now, we can make this real easy. You finish your drink, you walk out that door, and you don't come back. Or, the pause hung like a noose. Or you can stay. And things get complicated. The bikers leaned back, smirks spreading. They knew this dance. These weren't cops keeping order. They were muscle with badges. Maya shifted her weight slightly, her hand brushing her thigh close to the hidden wire taped under her jeans. One phrase, one code, and her handler would know she was in trouble. But if she spoke too soon, she'd blow her cover. The taller cop leaned in, voice dropping to a hiss. Orders came straight from the lieutenant. You don't want to test what that means. Her blood went cold. A lieutenant. This wasn't rogue. This was systemic. The chain of command itself had rotted. And now, it was staring her dead in the eye. The taller cop's hand landed heavy on Maya's shoulder. Not a touch, a grip, firm, claiming. Let's talk outside. The bar seemed to hold its breath. Boots shifted, chairs scraped. Everyone knew what outside meant. Maya smiled faintly, as if unbothered. Appreciate the offer, but I'm comfortable right here. The other cop stepped closer, boxing her in. His badge flashed again, a cruel joke under the neon. Wasn't a request. Her stool scraped back, slow, deliberate. She stood, eyes in the bar, followed every movement. Some of the bikers smirked, others looked away. Nobody intervened. This wasn't their fight, or maybe it was exactly their kind of entertainment. The taller cop leaned down, voice low enough only she could hear. Orders came straight from the lieutenant. You should disappear before you end up buried. Buried. The word dug into her gut. Confirmation. This wasn't 2 crooked street cops freelancing. The rot went higher. A lieutenant tied directly to the gang. They angled her toward the exit, each step a tightening noose. Her boots tapped the wood, heartbeat steady though her pulse thundered. She stumbled slightly, her palm brushing the side of her jacket. To anyone watching, it was nothing, just a clumsy shift. But to her handler, listening through the mic, it was everything. Looks like rain tonight, she murmured, voice light. A meaningless comment to the room. But into the wire, it was code, an emergency trigger. Somewhere, far beyond the bar, a signal lit up, backup alerted. But backup would take time, and time was what she didn't have. The taller cop reached the door first, holding it open. Cold night air spilled inside, mixing with smoke and sweat. Maya didn't move. You first, she said softly. The second cop chuckled darkly. You don't get it. Outside, you walk, or we drag you. Her eyes flicked across the bar, just once. A dozen bikers. A handful of regulars. And not a single ally. Still, she didn't step through the door. Instead, she shifted her weight, planting herself like a stone. The taller cop's jaw tightened. His grip on her arm hardened, veins rising in his wrist. Don't make this worse. Her voice was steady, almost calm. Funny, that's exactly what I was thinking. The words landed like a spark. The second cop cursed under his breath. The tension snapped sharp, like a bowstring pulled too tight. One more word, one wrong move, and the whole bar could ignite. For a heartbeat, it looked like they might shove her straight through the door and into the night. But then a sound cut through. Bootsteps, heavy, rhythmic, from deeper inside the bar. The crowd shifted, parting just enough to reveal a new figure entering the room. Broad shoulders, shaved head, leather cut with insignias that dripped authority. The bikers straightened instantly. Some nodded, some looked away, respect or fear. The gang leader had arrived, and Maya's coded signal? It might already be too late. The air shifted when he walked in, boots pounding heavy against the floorboards, shoulders wide enough to part the crowd without a word. Tattoos crawled up his neck, and the leather cut on his back carried a patch the whole town recognized and feared. The gang leader. The bar lit up for him like it was his throne room. Cheers, nods, even a few lowered heads. This wasn't just respect, it was submission. He didn't bother looking at anyone else. His eyes went straight to the two cops at the door, and then to Maya, pinned between them. With a grin, he slapped one cop across the back, nearly knocking him forward. "Good boys, always watching the door for me." The laughter that followed was cruel, knowing, and in that moment, the last veil dropped. This wasn't law enforcement keeping order. This was a partnership, cops and criminals, joined at the hip. The gang leader turned his attention fully on her, eyes narrowing like a hawk sighting prey. He didn't ask who she was. He already knew she wasn't one of his. What he wanted was confirmation. "So," he said, voice calm, deliberate. "Who sent you?" Maya met his stare, unflinching. "Just passing through. Drink in peace, that's all." The cop beside her snorted. "Don't waste your breath, boss. She's been poking around, asking the wrong people the wrong questions." The gang leader tilted his head, studying her. "That's so. What's your game here, sweetheart? You a reporter? A cop groupie? Or just stupid?" Every eye in the bar was on her now. The laughter from minutes ago had faded to silence. This was the moment. One slip, and they'd tear her apart before she ever saw the door again. She kept her voice level, casual. "Don't know what you're talking about. Just curious about the locals. That's all." The gang leader leaned closer, so close she could see the jagged scar slicing through his eyebrow. His voice dropped to a growl. "Curiosity's dangerous. Gets people killed." Behind him, the two cops grinned, arms crossed. They were enjoying this. They thought she was finished. But under her jacket, the mic was still hot. Every word, every threat was being recorded, evidence stacking higher with each sentence. She tilted her glass, swirling what was left of her drink. "I'll keep that in mind." The gang leader's stare lingered, long enough for the tension to strangle the room. Then he leaned back, laughing suddenly, harsh and sharp. "Relax, boys. Maybe she's nothing. Maybe she's just another face who'll forget what she saw tonight." The bar echoed with uneasy chuckles, but no one believed it, not even him, because the way his eyes lingered on her, cold and calculating, said something else entirely. She wasn't walking out of here without proving who she really was. And for the first time, Maya felt the noose tighten not around her cover, but around her life. The laughter from the gang leader faded into something darker. His hand flicked, casual, almost lazy, but the meaning was clear. "Get her out of here. Now." The two cops straightened immediately, their grins widening. One leaned in close to Maya's ear, whispering a final threat. "Told you, you don't walk out of this." They grabbed her arms. The bar seemed to lean forward, the crowd hungry for what came next. And that's when Maya stopped resisting. She let them grip her, drag her a step toward the door. Then she moved. Calm. Smooth. A single motion. From inside her jacket, she pulled a small leather badge case and flipped it open. The gold eagle gleamed under the flickering neon. Federal Bureau of Investigation. The words landed like a bomb. The room froze. The bikers stiffened. Even the gang leader's grin faltered for the first time. And the two cops. They cursed out loud, faces draining of color. They had just threatened a federal agent. Every word, every threat, caught on tape. The silence snapped into chaos. One cop's hand dove for his gun. The other grabbed her shoulder hard, eyes darting to the exits. They weren't thinking anymore. They were panicking. But before steel cleared leather, headlights cut across the bar's grimy windows, white beams flooding inside like judgment. Engines growled. Tires screeched. And then the front door exploded open. Shouts, boots, and black rifles filled the bar. "FBI, don't move!" The room erupted in panic. Bikers surged from their stools. Chairs clattered, glass shattered. The gang leader shoved his men forward, but his eyes were already darting, looking for a way out. The two corrupt cops bolted for the back door, but they never made it. The bikers grabbed them first, shoving them forward with disgust. "You sold us out," someone roared. In an instant, the fragile alliance collapsed. Cops against bikers, bikers against each other, everyone scrambling as agents swarmed through. Maya didn't flinch. She stood in the center, badge still raised, calm in the storm as bodies hit the floor. Shouts filled the air, and years of corruption finally cracked open. The raid had come, but the real fight was just beginning. The storm broke all at once. In less than a heartbeat, the bar that had thrived on shadows and silence was swallowed by flashing lights, steel, and orders barked with precision. The FBI moved in like a machine, every agent knowing their place, every movement rehearsed, every weapon trained. For the bikers who had thought themselves untouchable, the illusion shattered in a single instant. Their laughter died in their throats. Their empire of intimidation collapsed in on itself. The gang leader, once a man who commanded a room with just a glance, now stood frozen as iron cuffs bit into his wrists. His smirk vanished, replaced by the hollow look of a man who realized his power had been smoke all along. His allies tried to shield him, but the tide was too strong. Agents pressed them to the floor, one by one, until the bar that had been a fortress was reduced to silence and surrender. And the cops? The so-called protectors who had sworn oaths to uphold the law, now exposed as its betrayers, were dragged out in disgrace. Their faces twisted between rage and fear, their badges meaningless, their authority stripped bare. The crowd that had once whispered in fear of them now stared openly, seeing the truth for the first time. Every threat, every bribe, every abuse of power was undone by a single fact. The world had just witnessed them stand shoulder to shoulder with criminals. Their fall was louder than their rise. But amid the chaos, the camera of truth kept rolling. Hidden devices captured every word, every alliance, every betrayal. What had been rumor was now undeniable record. This was not hearsay, it was history, branded into evidence. Yet even as the handcuffs clicked shut and the black SUVs swallowed their captives, the air refused to settle. Because corruption does not die with a single arrest. It does not vanish in the blink of a raid. It survives in whispers, in files buried deep, in the men who never step foot in bars, never soil their hands, but command armies from leather chairs and locked offices. As Maya watched the prisoners taken away, she knew this night was both victory and warning. The lieutenant's name surfaced again, a reminder that the chain of corruption stretched far higher than the walls of this bar. The bikers and the dirty cops were pawns, but pawns always answer to a king. The town exhaled in relief, but only for a moment, because in the silence that followed, a darker truth remained. Tonight was not the end of corruption. It was the unveiling, the first cut into a body that was rotting from the inside. And in that silence, one question lingered like smoke. If the bar was only the beginning, how far did the shadows truly reach? The battle was not won. It had only just begun. If you want to see how deep this conspiracy really goes, make sure you subscribe now, share and like the video, because the next chapter is darker, bigger, and far more dangerous.